So you're thinking about a career as a hazardous waste inspector, not your average desk job.
Definitely not.
We're diving deep into RoleCatcher's career guide today. They've got, well, pretty much everything you'd want to know about this line of work. Think of it as a shortcut to figuring out if this is the right path for you.
It's a pretty unique field, that's for sure.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. When you say hazardous waste inspector, what does that actually look like in action? Not just like poking at barrels all day, I'm guessing.
Well, there's that, but it's a lot more than just barrels. You're going to be at industrial sites, analyzing equipment, taking samples, making sure everything's being handled safely and by the book. Think of it like um, a mix of CSI and environmental activism.
Interesting. So it's very hands-on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then on any given day, you could be explaining safety protocols to a community group. It's a really diverse job, which is something that RoleCatcher really emphasizes.
Sounds like it would keep things interesting, to say the least. But we have to address the elephant in the room, right? We're talking about hazardous waste here. It can't all be sunshine and roses.
You're right. There are definitely downsides. It can be demanding. You're exposed to some risks, and the regulations are constantly changing. You need to be on your toes.
On the flip side, RoleCatcher points out a major plus: job security.
Yeah, the demand for sustainable waste management is only going up, and that means a growing need for qualified inspectors. It's not a fad, it's the future.
Okay, so we've established that it's a growing field with a dash of danger and a real potential to make a difference. What about education? What kind of background are we talking about to even get your foot in the door?
Well, you might picture someone with a degree in environmental science or chemistry walking into this job, and you wouldn't be wrong.
But RoleCatcher also mentions some other degrees that you might not expect, like law or public health. Not exactly what comes to mind at first, right?
You'd be surprised.
Mhm.
But when you think about it, a legal background could be really helpful, especially when you're dealing with all those environmental regulations.
Makes sense. Those regulations can get pretty complex.
Exactly. And then there's the public health angle, because hazardous waste obviously has a direct impact on communities.
Right.
Inspectors often end up educating the public about the risks and explaining best practices and all that.
So it's about understanding the science, but also how it connects to policy and to people.
Exactly.
RoleCatcher also mentions some certifications that can give you a leg up in this field.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They highlight the CHMM, which is the Certified Hazardous Materials Manager, a globally recognized certification, so it definitely carries some weight.
So if you're serious about this line of work, it's probably worth looking into. Any other certifications worth mentioning?
Hayes Woper is another big one, and that focuses more on the emergency response side of things. It's all about being prepared for those situations where something goes wrong, like a chemical spill.
So you need to know how to contain it, keep everyone safe, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say you've got the education, maybe a certification or two. What's the career path actually look like? Can you work your way up in this field?
Definitely. RoleCatcher lays out a pretty clear progression from entry level all the way up to Director of Hazardous Waste Inspection. And what's interesting is how the responsibilities and the kind of expertise you need, they change at each stage.
So let's break down a couple of those stages. Let's talk about day one on the job versus, the view from the top. So as an entry-level hazardous waste inspector, what are you actually doing day to day?
Well, imagine this. You're fresh out of school, you're eager to make a difference, you're probably assisting with inspections, shadowing the more experienced inspectors, and just, learning the ropes. You might even get involved in some of those public education initiatives we talked about.
So getting your hands dirty, but also starting to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. RoleCatcher even provides an example profile of an entry-level inspector. They describe themselves as, let me see, a diligent and motivated individual with a strong passion for environmental protection and waste management. They emphasize their experience assisting with inspections and their willingness to learn.
So passion is key at that stage.
It definitely seems to be.
Now let's fast forward a bit. You've climbed the ladder, you're the director of hazardous waste inspection. How has your world changed? What are you responsible for at that level?
Well, at that point, you're not really in the field every day. You're leading a team, developing policies, and overseeing large-scale hazardous waste management initiatives.
So you've gone from hands-on to, shaping the bigger picture.
Exactly. And again, RoleCatcher provides an example profile for this stage, too. They talk about their track record of developing and implementing policies, establishing partnerships with industry stakeholders, and advocating for stricter hazardous waste management regulations.
That's a pretty big shift in responsibility, from inspecting barrels to influencing policy.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. Okay, so before we wrap up, let's talk about the interview process for a second. Because let's face it, you could have all the right qualifications, but still need to ace that interview.
Absolutely. And that's another area where RoleCatcher really shines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have this database, right, of interview questions,
Yeah.
like over 120,000 of them. But they're not just generic questions. They're tailored to this specific career path.
So you're not just getting the usual tell me about your strengths kind of thing.
No, these are much more specific.
Yeah.
For example, one question they highlight is, how do you ensure safety when handling hazardous waste?
That's a good one.
Right. It forces you to really think through the protocols, the procedures, the whole 9 yards.
It's not something you can just wing, that's for sure. What other kinds of questions did you come across?
Well, another one that stood out was, can you describe a time you had to address a hazardous waste violation?
Ooh, that's getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, and it's designed to see how you handle those situations,
Yeah.
right? You need to be assertive, but also diplomatic. And of course, you need to know the regulations inside and out.
It's that combination of technical knowledge and people skills that seems to be so important in this field.
Definitely.
Did you find any questions that are geared towards, say, someone aiming for a leadership position?
Oh, for sure. For those who have their sights set on becoming a director, this is a really good one. How do you stay up to date with changing regulations?
That's a big one, because those regulations do change.
All the time. So it highlights the importance of continuous learning in this field. You can't just rest on your laurels.
Well, there you have it. If you're looking for a career that combines environmental protection with maybe a little bit of detective work and even policy making, hazardous waste inspector might be the perfect fit.
And with resources like RoleCatcher, you have the tools and information you need to figure out if it's the right path for you. And if it is, they can help you every step of the way.
So, to wrap things up, we've explored the challenges, the rewards, the skills you need. We've really gone in depth on what it takes to thrive in this field.
And it is a growing field, don't forget that.
Absolutely. So, until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep diving deep into the careers that inspire you.